He played here in Reading as a member of the Harrisburg Senators when he was the Eastern League MVP in 1991, when he hit .333 in AA with 13 homers and 78 runs batted in.
How many stolen bases?
How many stolen bases?
Yeah.
You had 30-some, didn't you?
Something like that.
Something like, we're going to go with 30-something.
I used to be skinny.
As far as you know. He was elected to the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame in 2015. What's the exchange rate on that between that and Cooperstown?
75 cents.
75 cents, not good right now.
For me it is. I got
Looking up, this is actually pretty cool in a strange way, but April 12th, 2009, he hit a game-winning home run for the Phillies at Coors Field in Denver. That was the last home run that Harry Kalas called in his career. He hit it. Harry died in Washington the next day, less than 24 hours later. It was naturally a pinch hit home run. He played in 17 playoff games, including 2 World Series with the Phillies. Anybody remember his one postseason home run? Yeah, I had a feeling you might. I thought you might. A go-ahead 2-run pinch hit blast against Jonathan Broxton in Game 4 of the 2008 National League Championship Series at Dodger Stadium put the Phillies up 7-5 in the 8th inning. They would go on to win by that score and eventually go on to win the World Series. Clearly a signature shot in Phillies history. Please welcome Matt Stairs.
By the way, first of all, thanks for having me, guys. This is awesome. Steve, that's going to be very tough to follow. Because you played with one team, I played with 750 players and 13 teams. I cannot remember a lot of good stories. And my stories are not PG-13. But I'm going to change it up a little bit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about how I got drafted or signed, how I got traded to the Philadelphia Phillies from the Toronto Blue Jays. But I would like to open it up for questions. So I think it's very important that you, the fans, have a chance to ask questions. I can sit up here and talk a bunch of BS, but there might be a question that you guys want to hear or an answer, so feel free to ask questions. I know there was a question already at table 33. I know there's a question at table 12 already as well, right? 33? We know what's going on? So, I was being Canadian. I live in the East Coast Canada. Grew up a little bigger than the farmer over there. My goal was I always wanted to play hockey, play for the Montreal Canadiens. Unfortunately, I'm 5'9", that doesn't matter. I decided to play baseball. So what happened was I ended up moving away from my hometown when I was 19 years old and went to a thing called National Baseball Institute in Vancouver. First time away, I thought it was great. The problem is that I was supposed to go to school. That never happened. I decided that I wanted to play baseball. We spent most of the time at the batting cages, traveled up and down the West Coast. We never played home games, we always played away. The problem is that we ended up having a party one night, ended up burning down the house, and I got kicked out of the organization. I never allowed to go back again. There were 7 of us that burned the house down. Anyway, we had fun. Had an opportunity. True story. You guys want to hear stories, right? I had a chance to play for Team Canada. I tried out for the 88 Olympic team in 86, and 85, and 86. Had the chance to play for Team Canada, played the Olympics in 88. One of the greatest experiences I've ever had, except for walking in on opening ceremonies and the bird shit just dropping on you left and right. Like, I'm not kidding, it was a joke. But it was a blast. We had a good time over in Korea. It made me hungry to get back, and I knew I had some pretty good talent and wanted to play. In '89, I signed as an international free agent. Being Canadian, we didn't have to be drafted back then. So I signed with the Montreal Expos. Went to spring training my first year in '89. No idea what was going on. Walked in, sat down, they gave me number 1. Why, I don't know. Probably because I'm Canadian. And my locker partner was Jack Clark. Now, Jack Clark and I used to watch him play all the time. And they're just sitting there sucking on a cigarette. And I'm like, this is unbelievable. You go smoke in the big leagues. I wouldn't recommend it, but I thought it was pretty cool. I was very spoiled my whole career of coming up to the minor leagues because I've never spent more than maybe 2 or 3 days in minor league camp. And guys know that when you go to minor league camp, it is tough. There's 400 or 500 people in a small area like this size, trying not to make certain teams. So I was spoiled that way, given an opportunity. The one story I will tell was when I was with Oakland A's, and you talk about how you pick on rookies. When we go to Chicago, there's a horse on the way to the ballpark, and the horse has private areas, the cojones. And we ended up having this player one night. We were saying, okay, it's a tradition. You have to go out and you have to paint the cojones, the color of our team. So we got the green paint, had him go out and paint the, you know what, of the horse. So the next day, he comes into the locker room and I have 2 officers waiting for him. Had it all pranked up. Threw him on handcuffs. He walks in and all of a sudden the cops are all mad. He says, I got you on video, you're under arrest, private property, tampering with yada yada, all this stuff going on. This player broke down, started crying, because my mother is going to kill me. So we let him go to the station halfway, we turned around, came back, and it was a pretty good prank, but it is true. We pick on rookies like there's no tomorrow. All right, now all of a sudden we get down to Toronto, I'm playing with the Toronto Blue Jays, and we're playing in Tampa Bay. And this is the big story I like because I got a chance to come to Philly. Playing in Toronto in Tampa, and James Shields is pitching. And I had pretty good numbers against him, and I wasn't playing that night, so I knew something was going on. So I got called in the office after the game, and the Cito Gaston was our manager, and Alex Anthopoulos was the general manager. And he said, "Okay, well, we traded you." I said, "Well, perfect." I said, "Well, where am I going?" "Well, we can't tell you yet." I'm like, "Wait. You can't tell me where I'm being traded." Well, apparently the Phillies had a game the night before. They used a lot of the bullpen, had to have some roster moves. I said, "That's fine." I said, "Can you tell me where I'm going?" Because my wife just flew to New York on Thursday night with my 3 daughters, meeting us there because we were flying there after the game. "No, we can't tell you because it's against the rules." I said, "Well, let me ask you a question. If I guess where I'm going, will you tell me?" They said, "Well, yeah, but you're not going to." I said, "Philadelphia." They said, "How the hell did you know you're going to Philadelphia?" I said, "Well, I'm not real smart, but I can hit a fastball." I knew that Pat Gillick needed the left-handed hitter. I knew he needed the pinch hitter, and he's been after me for 4 years. And when I found out I was going to Pittsburgh or Philadelphia, I could not wait to get there. Problem is, I had to wait until Sunday to fly to Chicago to play against the Cubs. And when I get there, I'll never forget, I walk in and Charlie Manuel says, "Hey, Stairs, you're playing right field." I said, "No." And I'm old. I've DH'd every game this year. Jason Worth is in right field. He said, "Yeah, but Jason's struggling." I said, "Okay, if myself and Mel Thompson can fix him, can he continue playing right field?" He said, "Absolutely." And we know what happened with Jason Worth afterwards. He started hitting really well. Thank God, because I'm too old, too fat to play outfield anymore. And believe it or not, true story, when I signed as a pitcher and a shortstop. Yes. This frame used to be a shortstop. And I think I had 30 stolen bases that year in Harrisburg. So I've had the ups and downs, but I'll tell you one thing, and this is what I will give advice to the young athletes trying to go farther. When you think you've done enough, do more. I used to take 500 swings a day. That was my goal, was 500 swings a day, and I knew I had to work on stuff every day to be better. Because I was behind the 8 ball, being Canadian and only playing 30 games a year. Last story is before we open up for questions. I had a coach for when I played for Team Canada. He said, "Stairsy, you're going to be a great international player." I was like, "Yeah, okay. But you'll never make pro baseball." Pissed me off. So when someone tells you you cannot do it, prove them wrong. 15 years later, when I'm sitting on the field in Toronto stretching, and I look up and I see this scout sitting in the stands, I leave the stretch, I walk up 15 rows, sit down, and he goes, "You proved me wrong." And that day, he remembered, he told me I would be a good ball player, or I'd be an international player only. So I proved him wrong, and I was happy for that. And then I got a chance to win the World Series. The World Series was unbelievable. Coming to Philadelphia, I was happy because when I played against the Phillies, I crushed them. Because that ballpark is a great place to hit. I enjoyed playing that ballpark. Plus, you had the professional players, Ryan Howard. I mean, from 1 through 25 players, it was unbelievable. And I think honestly, the reason why we won that year was not because we were very good. but we didn't rely on one player to carry the team the whole year. And Broxton couldn't get us out. And what was that thing that Big Bob, Dennis Martinez used to say? New York's Big Daddy?
Oh, Pedro.
Yeah, he's like, anyway, it's whenever we saw Broxton come in, we knew he was done. The only thing that pissed me off that day of the day, the home run was, it didn't win the stadium. That was the only thing that picked me off. Because I hit one out of the stadium in BP. I hit this one better, but it was nice. So it was fun. It was great to have an opportunity. And I couldn't believe the day that we had the parade. And it was funny because we got on the buses and wherever we were on, and we pulled out of the parking lot, we take a right, and we're going down these streets, and there's like 2 people over here, 3 over here. I'm like, what the hell is this? But this is supposed to be a parade. And all of a sudden we took a street down Broad Street, and it was, what, 3 million plus? 2 hours to go, what, a quarter of a mile or 2 miles down the street. Greatest experience I've ever had, because Jamie Moyer and I had the opportunity to have the same experience. He played with about 30 players more than I have. And I was in the league for about 18, 19 years. He was in the league for 20-some years, and we both finally won a championship together. So it was pretty sweet. Cool. Now, I didn't have my father jump over the fence to celebrate, but Morgana, remember Morgana? That's what I was hoping to jump over this. I've seen her once, but that was a long time ago. So, if you have questions, feel free. Because that's what I like doing. I like talking, and trust me, I am Canadian. I will answer any question you want
Right over there.
to a certain degree. I'll get you a second.
Sorry if it sounds very generic,
No, you're good.
but we all got to hear Joe Buck here talk about, and I know none of us like Joe Buck, but we all got to hear him talk about you hitting the ball into the night. It was obviously a very big home run and a very pivotal moment. And this is where it gets generic. What did it feel like for you? Because I know what it felt like for me.
No, that's a good question. So, I've hit a few home runs in my life, and I think being a pinch hitter, I never expected to get a hit. All I thought about when I was a pinch hitter was, if I can control my at-bat, something positive will come out. And I can break that whole at-bat down, like second by second. For me, it was just another home run. Until we ended up winning the World Series. Then I realized how big it was for a city, for all the Philly fans in the world. People, you guys don't know me from Jack, and I'm a very low-key, happy-go-lucky, I don't get too excited, unless we have grandkids again. Or Montreal Canadiens win, that's about it, right? That doesn't happen very often, so we might get Bernard. Anyway, I was happy because I knew it was a big home run, but I didn't realize how big it was until after we won the World Series. So, and the thing I was worried about was tripping. And I can tell you the other story. I have 2 shirts, by the way, but I won't go into the other one. The other shirt was, I made a mistake by saying something stupid.
You guys broadcasted?
Yeah, I do. I enjoy broadcasting. One of the dumbest things I've ever heard is I had my boss tell me to stop talking like a Canadian. So I started literally spelling because there's 2 O-U-T. Like I couldn't even say out or about. I had to say that I had to spell the word out. So I miss it. I don't miss how the game has changed. The game has changed a lot. I'm old school, so I enjoy. I enjoy the old rules. I miss being around. The great thing about broadcasting is that you can talk. If you make one person understand more about baseball, you've done your job. But the greatest thing about broadcasting is, I'm glad you golf a lot. It's a lot of golf, isn't it? Ask him, he knows. There's a lot of golf, right? Am I wrong? We go to Pittsburgh, you guys take care of us. You come to Philly, we take care of you guys. It's a great time. And it is nice because you actually get to, he knows more than anything. You get to break down everything, which is nice. More questions? Come on. Yeah.
Yeah, one right here.
Yeah.
Now, you talking about your old school, because I'm old school.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and I want you to elaborate,
Okay.
telling the kid that it ain't about this launch angle.
How much time I got? 20 minutes. So now you're getting into the hitting part where I can tell you right now, I did a program in Regina, Saskatchewan, and I had 700 people there. They said, yeah, you have about 20 minutes to 30 minutes. It turned into 2 hours. Well, they get drunk. It was a great time. So when I talk about old school, I talk about being able to take a catcher out, being able to take a second baseman out, not worried about the launch angle, not worried about exit velocity, not worried about the shifts, not worried about having a man on second base and you can't hit a ball to right field and try to advance the player over. So being a player and being a coach and sitting inside and listening to the way they break it down for coaching for the general managers is sad. Because if you have a man on second base and you play small ball and I do a job of hitting the ball to right field and move the runner over, they don't want that anymore. They want you to get a fastball. If you pop up the left field, you get a check mark because you're aggressive. So as an old-time player, I have a hard time swallowing that because that's being a selfish player. That's what I talk about. Exit velocity and launch angle has been around for years. It's called hitting the ball hard and driving the ball to the gap. Someone got smart, woo, launch angle. Here we go, launch angle. Let's see what your launch angle is. Yeah, the perfect launch angle is what? 24.5 degrees and hitting the ball 100 miles an hour with 99.9% chance of home run. And the .1 is because Aaron Judge hit it to right center in Boston. Now, come on. And I'll tell you what's hurting the game is this damn speed gun where a guy throws a pitch. And what's he do? Throws a pitch. 103. Congratulations, you just hit the backstop. That's awesome. You know what I mean? So there is an area where I don't mind it. I understand where you need to protect players. They're making a lot of money. Too much. But they're making a lot of money. So I understand you have to protect people with bigger bases and not sliding the second base, the chase outlet rule, busted posing rule. I understand that. But it's just getting a little out of hand. Yeah.
Well, you play for a lot of managers. How was Charlie Manuel compared to all the other guys?
He was probably the most relaxed I've ever seen. But Charlie didn't like bench players. He didn't. Like Charlie used to take me to spring training on a road trip. We'd go on a road trip. We'd go to, say, Pittsburgh and play them. And I would sit there and I was sat up by the coaches and we'd talk. And next thing you know, the game's over and I'm sitting there and still didn't get in the bat. So that's fine, whatever. You know, we went on a longer road trip like this, Detroit and I'm on the road, sitting there. Like, Charlie, I mean, I'm supposed to get in the bag. He goes, no, I'm going to do much fun the conversation. So he'd take me on the road trip for a conversation. I could be golfing right now. I'm traveling 4 hours back on traffic, but anyway, I had nothing else to do. My family was home, so. But Charlie was laid back, very smart. He just wanted you to play the game right, and he wanted you to be prepared. If you didn't prepare properly, he would let you know. He'd give you one warning. Your second warning, you're probably gonna get knocked out. Because he was a guy that enjoyed baseball, but he wanted you guys to get ready for it. Yeah.
Who's your favorite Canadian hockey player?
So that's a great question. So when I was playing with big leagues, we always had alias. I had an alias, and my alias was Yvonne Cornway. Right? So I called down one night and I asked for whatever it was, and he says, "So how do you spell your last name?" I'm like, shit, I don't know. So he was my favorite hockey player, and then my alias became Lord Stanley. So think about calling downstairs and someone saying, "May I help you, Lord Stanley?" Yeah, I was feeling pretty good. Yvonne Cornway, and now if I ever had a boy, his name would be Connor McDavid Stairs. Man crush, whatever. Yeah.
If you had to choose one thing, what was your biggest takeaway from being a major league hitting coach?
Well, getting Aaron Altair locked in that 1 year. I mean, honestly, when I was with the Phillies, I only had myself. I was the only hitting coach. I went to the Padres and I had two guys. I'm old school, he's new school with the new swing path. Honestly, I think you get hired as a hitting coach to be fired, right? I mean, you really do. I got fired for no reason. The reason they gave me was if I had better players, it'd be a different story. Well, that makes sense. Maybe the GM should be fired. I took his line. He said that. So I think for me, it was I loved coming out of the booth to the box, or from the booth to the field, being the hitting coach, and having a pretty damn good year in Philadelphia. And when you help kids out or young athletes out to find their swing, and I'm a technical director now at home, and I look after 645 young athletes from 8 years old to 18 years old. Just them walking away and learning something, it's nice. Couple more questions.
We do two more.
Yeah.
Are you glad they got rid of the shift? Did they get rid of the shift?
Well, I feel bad for pitchers. I do. I mean, they talk about speeding the game up, but now it's going to be a lot more players on base left and right. Like, I don't know the rules. I don't follow the game as much as I should. He's probably the brains behind all that stuff, Mr. Billy, but I don't. I laugh when people say, well, just change your swing, hit the ball in left field, and beat the shift. That's not happening. First of all, they don't want you to. And second of all, you really want Ryan Howard to hit a single through the 6-hole in left field? You know what I mean? So I think it's going to be nice to see the shift back to normal, or no shift. But I feel bad. I can't believe I'm saying this. Sorry. I can't believe I'm feeling bad for pitchers. Because I don't like pitchers. They don't like me. Which is fine. But we'll see what happens. You have a question? Yeah.
Who was your favorite hitter watching when you were coming up, and who's your favorite hitter to watch now?
Well, I was a slap hitter back in the day when I was younger, and I could see my feet. I was probably Tony Gwynn. He was, to me, was just a guy that, he would put a display on. He put a bucket. Him and Mike Boggs and Don Madden would put a bucket up in left center, and they would just practice it in line drives to that bucket, and it was impressive how he did it. Nowadays, I'm a big Mike Trout fan. He's still his approach is still the same as old school. Bryce Harper, I enjoy watching Bryce. Because my granddaughter's name is Bryce Harper, sorry. So it's I don't watch the game enough anymore. Glad he's good. I mean, he's fun to watch too, but who's big and who's a fat guy? I watch him. What's impressive is that guys throw 102 miles an hour, and these guys are dropping barrel on it. That's impressive. It really is. The eye-hand coordination is ridiculous. We used to face guys that were throwing 93 going, holy God, 93. Now these guys are throwing 103. That's how good the hitters are nowadays. And I'm telling you right now, the reason why home runs are up, it's not because of the new swing, it's because there's no fear when you step in the batter's box. If you face a Roger Clemens or a Pedro Martinez and you took a big swing and a foul ball, you were wearing one in the neck. You were. And I'm not saying that I agree with that. Thank God they never hit me, they always miss me. But I like the fact that a hitter picks inside or outside. The pitcher picks the other side. And if a guy feels comfortable, you knock him down. That's how it is. But that's long gone. Yeah.
What was the biggest challenge of being a pinch hitter, and how did you personally overcome that?
So the biggest thing for me to be a pinch hitter is you have to accept it. When I always tell people that I didn't make enough to play every day, which was just a joke. I was just making a joke about it. But I accepted my role. I wanted to be a pinch hitter towards the end of my career because I wanted to have an opportunity to change the outcome of the game. That was the most important thing for me. My approach was simple. I stuck with my game plan and I stayed with it. It might work today. If it didn't, I come back tomorrow. So the biggest thing for me in baseball is short memory. I went 0 for 32 in 2009 with the Phillies. I went 2 months without getting a hit. That was a long 2 months, but we were winning. So for me, I stuck with my game plan. If it worked, it was great. If it didn't, I'm not changing it. I stuck with it. But that's the biggest thing. I accept my role, and I never expected to get a hit. I just had a great approach of being a stubborn hitter. One more, and then we go. Yeah, there he is. How'd I feel after my first home run? I don't remember. I think it was a 2-0 pitch in Kansas City. Runners one up 13 miles an hour. It was a curveball, second inning out on Gordon. It was nice. I mean, it was. I don't remember running the bases. You know, you get a little nervous up there. I was worried about tripping. I did it once coming around third base in Toronto. The turf got me. It's embarrassing. But it was nice. My first 3 at-bats, I had Rob Dibble, Rob Dibble, Rob Dibble. Jose Rios was the first major league hit. Tom Gordon was the first home run. In my first 2 major league ball games, 2 brawls. So I thought that was kind of hot. Hell of a night. So listen, thank you very much for having me. I enjoyed it. Right?